Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders enter their bye week at a crossroads that feels more like a chasm than a pause. A moment meant for reflection, but one that cannot, in any meaningful way, erase the glaring issues that have defined their season so far. Expectations were sky-high coming into this campaign, fueled by a sensational run to the NFC Championship just a year ago and bolstered by off-season acquisitions designed to push the team into Super Bowl contention. The hype surrounding Washington was tangible, and many believed this roster, armed with experience and a few strategic upgrades, could solidify itself as a perennial contender in the NFC. But what was supposed to be a season of affirmation has turned into a prolonged, painful display of decline. A team once thought to be a model of balance and strategic depth has instead found itself struggling with a roster that is aging, slow, and increasingly vulnerable, revealing cracks that no bye-week or mid-season adjustment seems capable of repairing. Head coach Dan Quinn, a man whose philosophy is steeped in loyalty and measured development, now faces the unenviable task of reconciling the disparity between a roster built on trust and familiarity and the cold, hard reality that youth, speed, and adaptability are what the team desperately needs. The biggest problem is evident in every facet of the Commanders' performance. The roster is old, and in football, age rarely hides. Quinn's gamble to return mostly intact with the same core of veterans, relying on minor tweaks and hope, has created an environment where talent alone is not enough to mask physical decline or compensate for slow reaction times. Injuries, while impactful, are only part of the story. The root of the struggle lies in a team that cannot match the tempo and explosiveness of the competition. When elite teams exploit every inch of speed in every mismatch, the Commanders find themselves increasingly unable to respond. The strategy of blending veteran experience with occasional bursts of youthful energy is proving more theoretical than practical. The coaching staff is left with the delicate task of deciding who gets playing time and who becomes a spectator to their own team struggles, all while maintaining morale and cohesion. Quinn has expressed confidence that the balance between youth and loyalty can be achieved, but translating theory into action in real time has shown itself to be a far more complex undertaking than initially envisioned. The dilemma extends beyond the field and into the very culture of the team. The Commanders are now at a stage where developmental priorities must supersede the comfort of familiarity. Yet doing so comes at a cost. Younger players like second-round picks Johnny Newton and Ben Sinnott remain on the periphery, waiting for meaningful opportunities to showcase their potential. Running back Jakery Krosky Merritt has been relegated to a secondary role, while fledgling defensive backs and wide receivers, hoping for more significant involvement, are similarly stymied. Even roster moves, such as the recent release of wide receiver Jacoby Jones, signal that Quinn is beginning to make difficult decisions. But the overall pace of youth integration remains painstakingly slow. The challenge lies in maintaining the competitive integrity of the team, while experimenting with lineups and giving inexperienced players a chance to prove themselves. A balancing act that could either accelerate the roster's renewal or further destabilize a season already teetering on the edge of chaos. Quinn's loyalty to veteran players complicates this process, creating a tension between principle and necessity that looms over every strategic choice. The Commanders' remaining schedule offers little in the way of cushion, with 6 games left that carry implications not just for standings, but for the very perception of the franchise. Every loss amplifies pressure, raising questions about leadership, roster management, and the direction of the team under Quinn's guidance. While the bye week provides a rare opportunity to step back, reflect, and plan, there is no magic wand to solve deep-seated problems that span personnel, play calling, and overall team identity. The season has revealed that words and intentions matter less than action, and the onus now falls on Quinn and his staff to demonstrate decisive leadership, adjusting the roster, allocating playing time, and fostering development without undermining trust or morale is a challenge that will test even the most seasoned of coaches. This is not merely a matter of tactical adjustments. It is a fundamental test of Quinn's ability to reconcile competing priorities and set the franchise on a sustainable path forward. The unavoidable reality is that the Commanders need to get younger, faster, and more dynamic, and the sooner that transition begins in earnest, the better. Yet Quinn is caught in a philosophical bind. He owes much to the veteran core, to the players who have contributed to past successes, and to the culture he has painstakingly cultivated. Loyalty is both a guiding principle and a potential hindrance, and the question of whether Quinn can prioritize long-term health of the roster over immediate sentiment looms large. The upcoming bye week may provide clarity, but it is not a cure-all. Decisions regarding the distribution of snaps, the promotion of emerging talent, and the release or demotion of aging players will inevitably define not just the remainder of this season, but the trajectory of the franchise for years to come. Quinn's approach to this delicate recalibration will be closely scrutinized, as fans and analysts alike weigh each move against the backdrop of a team that once carried Super Bowl aspiration. In many ways, the Commanders' plight is emblematic of a broader truth in professional football. No amount of loyalty, experience, or prior success can substitute for the physical realities of the game, or the imperative for constant roster evolution. The team's decline is not dramatic in flashes, but insidious in its consistency, eroding confidence, exposing weaknesses, and magnifying the limitations of an aging squad. Fans who once anticipated another deep playoff run are now confronted with a season defined by near misses, incremental disappointments, and the uncomfortable truth that the window of opportunity for the current roster is rapidly closing. Quinn's task, therefore, extends beyond mere strategy. It is about managing expectations, fostering resilience, and carefully initiating a process of regeneration that balances respect for the past with necessity for the future. Every game, practice, and roster decision now carries amplified significance, as the margin for error narrows with each passing week. Ultimately, this is a season of reckoning for Dan Quinn and the Commanders. The bye week offers a pause, but the challenges are structural, not temporal, and no amount of reflection alone will reverse the decline. Youth must be integrated, veterans reassessed, and a clear vision articulated for what the franchise should look like beyond 2025. Failing to do so risks not only continued losses, but the erosion of fan trust, organizational credibility, and player morale. Quinn's history suggests he values loyalty above expedience, yet the situation demands a recalibration of priorities, a willingness to act decisively, and the courage to make moves that may be uncomfortable in the short term but essential for long-term sustainability. The Commanders' season has become a cautionary tale, a reminder that success in professional football is fragile, contingent on adaptation, and never guaranteed. How Quinn navigates this critical juncture will define his legacy and the future of Washington football for years to come, making the upcoming weeks as consequential off the field as they are on it. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Whispers around the league have been growing louder, and it seems like the NFL world is on the brink of a shakeup that could completely alter the dynamics in Washington. Rumor has it that Myles Garrett, one of the most feared defensive ends in recent memory, might be heading to the Commanders. Imagine the implications of a player like Garrett suiting up in Washington colors. This isn't just another signing. It's potentially a seismic shift for a team that has been searching for identity and dominance for years. The chatter started quietly, almost as a casual mention in a late-night podcast. But now insiders are hinting that talks are getting serious. There's a palpable energy around this possibility, as fans and analysts alike try to imagine Garrett lining up across from quarterbacks who have been daring offensive lines to stop him for nearly a decade. The thought alone sends shivers down the spines of the league's offensive units. Sources close to the situation have been careful with their words, but you can sense the tension. They say Garrett has been evaluating his options, looking for a place where his impact would be most felt, and where the vision aligns with his own career goals. Washington, with its mix of young talent and veterans, could present the perfect storm. There's talk that Garrett has been impressed with the front office's recent moves, seeing a willingness to invest in building a top-tier defense. The team's leadership appears eager, almost desperate, to make a splash that signals to the rest of the league that they are not just participants. They want to compete at the very highest level. And a name like Myles Garrett carries weight. It's a name that can instantly elevate locker room morale and alter the way opponents game plan. What's fueling the rumor mill even more is the sudden flurry of activity from Washington behind the scenes. Players, agents, and staff have all hinted at big moves, and Garrett's name keeps surfacing in these conversations. Social media, of course, has exploded with speculation. fans are crafting mock-ups of jerseys, imagining defensive formations, and debating what kind of shift this would cause in both the NFC East and the broader conference landscape. Analysts on TV and radio can barely contain themselves, splitting hairs over how a player of Garrett's caliber would fit into defensive schemes that have struggled against elite offensive lines. Some suggest he could redefine the pass rush entirely, creating opportunities for his teammates while instilling a new level of fear in opposing quarterbacks. The energy is infectious, and even those who try to remain skeptical find themselves drawn into the narrative. Meanwhile, the locker room atmosphere in Washington has reportedly been buzzing with anticipation. You hear whispers of players discussing the potential arrival, with some veterans seeing it as validation of the team's ambitions, and younger players imagining the mentorship they could gain from one of the league's premier defensive minds. There's a sense that everyone understands the gravity of such a move. The presence of a player like Garrett is more than just athletic, it's symbolic. A statement to the league that Washington is serious about competing and no longer content with mediocrity. Rumors suggest that team meetings have subtly shifted in tone, with executives hinting at transformative plans without confirming specifics. Insiders say that Garrett's influence, even in hypothetical discussions, has already changed the tenor of conversations around team strategy and identity. The market for elite defensive ends is fiercely competitive, and Garrett's potential arrival in Washington would send ripples through the entire league. Other teams are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, aware that any public confirmation could trigger a domino effect. Trades, draft picks, and salary negotiations across the league could all be impacted by this one move. You can almost feel the tension in boardrooms miles away, as executives weigh the possibility of Garrett opting for Washington over other suitors who have been courting him aggressively. The rumor carries with it a weight that's almost tangible. Every outlet, every sports talk show, every tweet seems to acknowledge the potential magnitude of the situation. If true, it wouldn't just change a roster, it would change narratives, betting lines, and the psychological edge for Washington as a franchise. But let's not ignore the human element here, because Garrett is not just a commodity, he's a player with a personality, goals, and a vision for his career. Rumors suggest he has been carefully considering the fit, evaluating not only the team's current roster, but also the culture and leadership within the organization. There's speculation that he's intrigued by the chance to be a cornerstone of a franchise that has often felt like it was searching for its own identity. Some insiders hint that Garrett is motivated by more than just championships. He wants to be part of something transformative, a story that fans and analysts will talk about for years. That kind of consideration is rare in today's game, where the emphasis is often on immediate impact or lucrative contracts. And yet, if Washington can align with that vision, the pairing could be explosive in more ways than one. Even the media narrative has started to swirl, with respected reporters dropping hints that, while nothing is official, there are serious conversations happening. You can almost feel the anticipation building, a kind of collective holding of breath in the NFL community. Fans are already theorizing how defensive schemes would adjust, who would line up alongside Garrett, and which young talents might benefit from his presence. Rumors suggest that internal discussions in Washington have considered multiple formations and packages that would maximize Garrett's skills, indicating that the team is planning for a potential seismic shift in how they approach both home and away games. The speculation is relentless, and the intrigue only grows when you realize that Garrett's signing could potentially open doors to other high-profile moves, creating a ripple effect across the roster and even influencing the draft. And as always, there's the fan element, the lifeblood of the rumor mill. Social media threads are exploding with wild scenarios, hashtag campaigns, and mock analysis, each trying to imagine the defensive terror Garrett could unleash. Some fans are cautiously optimistic, others are downright ecstatic, and nearly everyone is obsessively checking for updates, insider tweets, and analyst takes. The sense is that something big is brewing. Even if it hasn't been made official, whispers have a life of their own, and in this case, they are spreading with an almost viral intensity. Everyone seems to agree that if Myles Garrett does indeed land with the Commanders, it would mark a turning point for the franchise, a statement that could reverberate for years to come, influencing not just the team's performance, but its culture, identity, and place in the league hierarchy. In the end, whether it happens or not, the rumor itself has already done its work. It sparked debates, fueled excitement, and forced analysts to rethink scenarios for the coming season. Myles Garrett to the Commanders is not just a potential signing. It's a narrative that has captivated the NFL world. A story unfolding in real time that could redefine expectations and ambitions. And as the whispers continue to circulate, you get the sense that everyone is holding their breath, waiting for confirmation or denial, knowing that either way, the presence of Garrett in Washington or the very discussion of it has already left an indelible mark on the league. The speculation, the excitement, and the intrigue are all part of the game. And right now, no topic is hotter than the possibility of one of the game's most dominant defensive forces suiting up in the nation's capital. The rumors swirl, the debate rages, and the NFL world watches, imagining the chaos, the highlights, and the unforgettable moments that could come if this story becomes reality. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.